Hello, everybody. What I wanted to talk about today was the relationship between the composer and the instrument, the utility of the instrument, what it's actually supposed to be used for, and what should drive you to use your instrument in a compositional way. If you are compositionally minded, if you are a guitar player or whatever, and your goal is to create music, and you have been playing for, I don't know, maybe 2 years or less, at about the 2 year mark, you should stop practicing. Practice is it's really a motivation killer. If you are inspired to play music and create something artistic, one of the worst things you can do mentally to yourself is to associate that instrument with a practice regimen. Obviously, right now, in terms of guitar-based music, the talent bar is so high that if you want to enter that rat race, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. So before you start thinking about what you want to do with music, you should really kind of determine what your inspiration is. What is driving you to play? Is your goal to be very good at the craft of guitar playing or good at the craft of composition? For most people, it's probably not going to be the latter. And that's where I think the disconnect between artistic expression and essentially just shitting out a product that's where the difference is. And that's the issue that I have with a lot of modern music, that inspiration is just not coming through. And a lot of the more technical music is getting, the easier it is to hide behind that progressive tag, which doesn't really mean anything anymore. Now it just means notey or busy or technical, complex. But the progressive genre, as we know it right now, progressive metal anyway, is pretty much devoid of innovation right now. Innovation should come from your approach with tonality, melody, your structuring, the story you're trying to tell in musical form. Not how many notes you can cram into a phrase or how technical your exercise is, how many sweet-picked things you are interjecting into your songs, how much syncopation you're having to your open chugs. That's not innovation. That's a recipe. You can essentially, anyone can do that. That's not trying to make your mark in a musical genre. And I think a lot of what's going on with that is the result of practice. When you enter into the music world, obviously you have to hone your craft. You have to get comfortable with your instrument. You have to get to the point where your instrument can make the sounds you need it to express what you're trying to say. And that's not something, guitar is an extremely easy instrument to learn. I'm trying to learn violin right now, and it's a pain in the fucking balls. I mean, just even holding it, like the way you're supposed to hold it, I just turned 40. So like doing this right now fucking hurts. It shouldn't. This is pretty goddamn easy to do. But right here, I can't do it. I can barely hold the goddamn thing. Guitar is a baby instrument. You should be able to figure out how to play that fucker pretty goddamn quick. And once you're there, once you get the basics down, there shouldn't be really anything standing in your way to getting your voice across except for your own sense of inspiration. If it's not there and you start thinking about how to essentially replace that inspiration with making sounds with a guitar to get your name across in any kind of fashion in the musical umbrella, you're going to start looking to practice to fill that void. And what that's going to get you is essentially where the modern guitarist lies right now. You're going to be good at sweep picking. Who fucking cares? Like, sweep picking is a meme, you know? If you're still looking at that as like the benchmark for what guitar is, man, you're just completely missing the point. Like, the main issue I have with what's going on with modern metal now is the creativity that was present in the melodic sensibility of like the late 90s. You know, people say metal was essentially dead by then, but a lot of bands within the death metal umbrella, especially, were bringing a really unique sense of melody, tonality, and phrasing into their death metal formula, and they were unique from band to band. But now the progressive metal genre, which is supposed to be heralded for its innovation, is shitting out product after product of similar sounding artists. That sense of melody that should denote you as an individual player, an individual artist, is essentially gone. And why is that? It's because of fucking practice. It's because when you sit down to practice, there are things that you can do to enhance your abilities, sure, but they're tried and true formulas. Like if you're gonna sit down and learn how to sweep pick, you're stuck in a position where there's only a few things that you can do that sound good running up and down the strings. That's why when you hear a band like Origin do it, it sounds the same as a band like Animals as Leaders. You're really just kind of stuck in that where your fingers can reach when you're trying to sweep pick. And you can play around with it and try to get some unique sounding tones. But essentially, if that's your goal, is to play the flashy shit, to play the sweep picking stuff, and to substitute actual riffs with open chugs and like a little bit of syncopation here and there, it's a recipe that anyone can follow. And for some reason, it's heralded as progressive when it's super not. And there's way more places you can go. Way more places you can go. But practice, it really will, if you want to practice to get good at doing that, then go ahead. But don't confuse what you're doing with artistry, because it's not. If you're trying to learn to become a composer and you're still practicing after 2 or so years, like I said, you're going to wind up associating your instrument with a regimen, with toilsome labor. It's going to seem laborious, and nothing kills inspiration more than essentially routine and practice and like overwrought education. Before I went to college, I was passionate about what I wanted to study. And then as soon as I was done, even before I was done, that passion was destroyed by education, because it really can kill that fire in you, that inspiration to that wellspring to draw from can be destroyed by education. You should, if you want to come into a genre like metal, which I come across in my videos as if there's like one good way to do it. There's not. There's limitless ways to do it. But people keep choosing the wrong paths. They keep choosing the wrong ways to do it. Those wrong ways are pretty easily identifiable, especially if you watch my videos. You know what I'm looking for. But it's one of those things where, depending on where you're coming from mentally, you're gonna get a product made with what you're doing that will sound inspired and sound like you, or it'll sound like the result of practice and sound like everyone else. And like I say in many videos, if you're gonna go ahead and become a modern metal guitar player, the template is out there, and the aesthetics of what those people are doing are very easy to copy because it's all aesthetic. There's no like underlying compositional structure that has relevance behind it where there's any kind of sense of depth. So you can glean all the aesthetics and copy all of these big time players, and if you put in enough practice, you'll get there and you'll do exactly what they're doing, and you'll probably be able to gain a following because people respond to what is flashy and what is instantly gratifying. Nothing that will take some time to sink in, nothing that will offer you any kind of sense of like enlightenment from repeated listens. None of that's going to be present with the modern progressive metal product. And like I said, if your goal is to be the sweep picking extraordinaire, there's only one real actually effective sweep picked segment that I can think of in metal where it was appropriate. And it was appropriate because it was done in like a tongue-in-cheek, sardonic kind of way. In Cryptopsy's Phobophile, the song starts with like a piano intro that sounds classical to the untrained ear. I don't know shit about classical music. I'm not going to pretend. But you get that this is a barbaric death metal band, and then you get that piano intro, so you're already getting this kind of pompous, grandiose vibe. And then the solo comes in, and there's a break before the rhythm comes back in, and the guitar player plays a sweep picked, like a full 6-string sweep pick ender, and it's there to kind of be tongue-in-cheek and hilarious. And now that is what makes up riffs. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that that's what people are gravitating towards. If you want to learn technique, that will actually progress your voice as a musician in the metal genre, in the death metal genre, or whatever, there's a few records that will help you. I'm wearing a Deflesh shirt right now. This is not on purpose, but if you want to learn how to have like really intense, like palm muted, like fast, like command of your right hand or left hand if you're a left-handed picker, listen to Under the Blade. That is, I tried to play along with it when it came out, like 97 or whatever, and it really honed my skills with my picking hand. That is some of like the stamina you need to get through that kind of material will really help you. And the reason that it will be effective within the death metal genre is because if you're learning really fast triplet patterns that you'll hear in, you know, crazy thrash music, which then went up a bar with a band like Defleshed, you're able to channel aggression, because that really fast trem pick style that they have, palm muted, it's aggressive sounding. It makes me want to fucking kill people when I hear it. And, you know, that has utility. It has utility to it. You can get your melody in and still intersperse some of that trem picked palm muted stuff in there, and allow like the barbarity of that picking pattern to have like a duality with the melody you're playing, and then you have like a full riff that has multiple layers to it. So that if you want to listen to that band, you'll be able to pick up on how hard some of that picking is, and if you try to play along to it, you'll eventually get the stamina to do so. If you want to learn how to trem pick full, all full 6 strings to get that ornate, like majestic, like full chord feel, listen to any old black metal. That'll help build the stamina too, playing full chords trem picked for a majority of your song's duration. If you want to learn how to manipulate time signatures while still having that sense of groove and still having it be melodically resonant with what death metal is, listen to Demolik Nespith. That ends up having, if you listen to that record, you'll hear how the drummer will flip from 3/4 to 4/4 while still having like the constant melody, and you'll see how much rhythm can change and add color to the riff, and you'll also be able to develop from them string skipping techniques, because what Demolik likes to do is a lot of their melody is kind of chromatic in how the tones are, but some of the tones they're using, they'll jump up an octave, so you'll have this like string skipping going on, and the notes will sound like they're leaping out of register and they're leaping out of key. But if you were to take them down to the octave that they could rest in with the rest of the phrase, you'll see that it really is kind of just a chromatic exercise. But that string skipping that is present in a lot of what they do, it'll help give you that added layer of dynamics, to introduce some of that the higher tones of the register of the guitar, while allowing yourself to still get your phrase across, which it could be like, a pretty primitive sounding phrase, but by assigning some of your notes to a higher octave value, you can have like a wider spread of dynamics to kind of get your voice across. So if you listen to like those 3 records, try to get some technique from that'll really help open some doors for you in terms of getting your own. It won't inhibit your voice. That's the main thing that I'm trying to get across, is there's ways to practice, ways to glean inspiration from other artists without inhibiting your voice. And some of these techniques that I'm explaining from these other records, they don't teach you the melodic structuring. They don't get your ears used to the certain phrases that you're hearing, like what sweep picking does. I don't even have to like tell you what the note arrangement is to a sweep picked phrase. You know what when you hear it, because it all sounds the same whenever any band does it. Just because of, if you're going to play that fast, there's only so many places you can go unless you alter the tuning of the guitar, and few people do that really. It's coming around now a little bit. People are kind of exploring with that, which is really fun, and it'll help you to kind of gain different voices that you didn't know you had. I use a lot of weird tunings. I've been doing it for a very long time, and what I like about it is I'm able to explore more of the tones of the guitar, but as I'm writing, I'm realizing that it still sounds like me. So where I lie in terms of my tonal choices isn't inhibited by the structure of where the strings sit on the guitar and where the notes are reachable. And that's a cool thing to discover, because you know, a lot of people might look at a guitar like dads, the middle-aged dads that buy guitars. They're going to sit in that pentatonic, like, follow where the circles are thing. And I've been changing tunings with playing a lot of weird open tunings for, I don't know, about 20 years now, and it still sounds like me no matter what tuning I put it in, but it enables me to have a few more melodic choices to choose from that I wouldn't get from a normal tuning. But I digress on that. If you want to still utilize the voice you have, that inherent voice you have that you're inspired to get out, you can listen to those records I mentioned, pick up on some of those techniques, and still not sacrifice who you are. Whereas if you practice now what you what everyone is practicing to enter that guitar player rat race, you're going to really hurt yourself in terms of what you can produce, because those tones are really going to be, you're going to see what the big names in music are doing right now, and what they're doing is so limited because the techniques they're focusing on are inherently limited. So you're going to look at that and you're going to be like, well, that's what guitar is, but that's not what guitar is. Guitar can be whatever you want it to be, but most importantly, it should be who you are if you're really inspired and you have something to get out. I haven't practiced in years. I haven't practiced since I was a kid. When I reach for my guitar when I'm inspired to write music, and that's how it should be. You know, I hear stories about, I think Jeff Loomis was quoted as saying he practices like 6 hours a day. What the fuck for? You know, what are you going to gain at that point? I mean, obviously he's older. You know, he's got to be like 50-something years old. If you're going to be, if you're degrading, if your body is falling apart, then I could see practicing to keep it up. I'm at the point now where I have to, you know, warm up my hands a little bit before I play. I can't just jump in, but that should be the limit of what your practice is. I really don't see the end game of what practice can do. I just think that if you're still playing and your brain will eventually associate practice with the toil involved, and you're going to wind up just developing a negative relationship with your guitar. When I grab my guitar, I'm excited to do it. I do it because it's a utility. There's a utility there that enables me to get my own voice out. I do it because I have to. If I get home and I feel inspired to play and I don't have a guitar within reach, I don't have that part of me that I can express. And that's what a guitar should be for someone that's compositionally minded. It shouldn't be something that you're going to practice on so that you could show off to people. I understand that the short-term gains of being able to show off to people are going to be hard to overlook. Like right now, we're still in that immediate gratification phase that social media grants everybody. So it's really going to be hard to ignore the allure of all the pats on the back you're going to get if you start sweep picking. But just think about what inspires you to make music in the first place. Go back to the drawing board. If what you want to do is technique minded and not expression minded, don't confuse what you're going to spit out as being art. It's not going to be, and you have to be comfortable with that. So that's about all I have to say regarding the idea of practice. I want people to know that they can foster that creative aspect of what will make them players and what will make them composers without developing a negative relationship with their instrument, because it's very easy. It's very easy to hate what you're doing. Right now, I fucking hate the violin. I'm hearing violin in my music, and I really, really want violin to be on my records. But I haven't touched it in a while because it's so goddamn hard. And I know it's something I can overcome. You know, if it's got strings on it, I can probably eventually pick it up. But I have that negative relationship with the violin over there right now. And The only way I'll get over that is by getting the basics down, which you should do when you start playing an instrument. You should get the basics down. But like I said, after you essentially learn what you need to learn in order to get yourself a means of expression out, stop fucking practicing. You're really going to be hurting yourself. You really are. And the stuff you end up creating via practice is not going to be essentially compositions. It's going to be exercise. And that's what we're seeing a lot of today. All right. Well, thank you for listening.